What's happening, YouTube? It's Simon466cards, and today we're going to review Fanatics' financial numbers, how Michael Rubin got all the league licenses for cards, and a bunch of other interesting tidbits from Fanatics based on what Rubin said in this interview with Boardroom in June. I'll include the link in the description below because it's a really interesting interview and gives you insight into how Rubin thinks about things and specifically thinks about business. First, let's hear him talk about trading card revenue. Let's kick it off right now.
And the majority of the revenue still comes from the trading cards, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So what will that business do?
I mean, that business next year will be over $3 billion in revenue.
And how does that break up across the different verticals and all those secondaries?
Yeah, so that's just primary cards, basically. And that's why us selling to hobby shops, us selling directly to collectors, us selling to breakers, us selling to people like Walmart and Target, who are really important partners for us.
So that's $3 billion in revenue for the Topps trading card business. And keep in mind, that doesn't include the NBA or NFL, which are both coming online for Fanatics in the next 12 months. I'd estimate that will be in the neighborhood of about maybe $6 to $8 billion once the NBA and NFL licenses are fully operational. Now let's hear Rubin talk about Fanatics Collect.
And then we also created a platform called Fanatics Collect, which is both a live commerce platform and a marketplace, and that'll do over $1 billion in GMV this year, where we charge about a 10% commission to the sellers, and that we think will double again next year.
He talks about GMV, which I believe means gross merchandise value. So they're going to get roughly $100 million in revenue from Fanatics Collect based off of that 10% commission, and a goal of getting about $200 million in revenue next year. And that's pretty good for a company that they bought for pennies on the dollar when it was known as PWCC just a few years ago. Now let's switch it up and talk about Fanatics Commerce, which is their merchandising arm. And there is definite relevance to this discussion of sports cards, which I will explain. So here we go.
Is it still the biggest vertical?
Yeah, it's about $7 billion this year.
Is it continuing to grow every year?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a single-digit grower today. We're focused on how do we become perfect, and we're far from perfect at that business.
So what can that grow into?
I would hope that the Fanatics commerce business by 2030 is a $15 billion business.
Focus.
Now, you're probably thinking this is less interesting to us because it doesn't relate to the hobby. It's about merchandise, right? But I'm including this because the math doesn't add up. He's saying that Fanatics Commerce currently generates $7 billion in revenue, grows in the single digits, and that he expects it to be worth double at $15 billion in about 5 years. That math ain't mathin', as they say, because even if you're picturing an optimistic picture of single-digit growth, which could mean up to 9%, if you do 9% each year for 5 years, $7 billion grows to only $7.7 billion for 5 years of growth at 9%. So how does he get $15 billion in 5 years then, right? That math does not hold up. So let's see why that is.
It's solely on licensed product?
100% on licensed products. I think we can double it over the next 5 years.
Are there licenses you guys don't have? I feel like you have everything in the world.
No, not at all. Do we sell things from everybody in the world? Absolutely. I mean, do we work with everyone in one capacity or not? Absolutely. Is there so many more rights for us to acquire? We haven't even acquired a quarter or a third of the rights that we could acquire.
Really?
Absolutely.
What is it, all like global sports?
I mean, global soccer, we're just getting started in.
So he's going to grow the merchandising arm of Fanatics by getting more league rights. I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that he will include card rights in those deals wherever and whenever he can. And so that's $6 to $8 billion that Topps generates after the NBA and NFL licenses move over will probably be close to $10 billion in about 5 years if he successfully acquires more league rights, especially the soccer rights, which obviously are going to be huge because it's a worldwide sport and the world's most popular sport. Now let's talk about Fanatics Fest. This is going to be pretty straightforward, I'll be honest. There's not a whole lot to this. Let's see what he says about Fanatics Fest.
And is there a business model behind it? Like for this, is there a world where you're making money on this type of thing?
This is not something that's ever going to be a moneymaker for Fanatics. I mean, it's about how do we bring together all the best parts of Fanatics, all of this sports ecosystem for the sports fan, and it's a marketing moment for Fanatics.
It's a marketing moment.
Yeah.
All right, so there you have it. Fanatics Fest is not about making money. So if you ever hear people talk about Fanatics Fest and how it's a show that loses money, I think there were numbers in the roughly $20 million range for the 2024 show that they lost. Keep this in the back of your mind. They're not expecting to make money. It's about marketing for Fanatics. They can afford to take a 10 million or 20 million or whatever the number is loss on the show when they're literally generating $10 billion in revenue as a company today. So Fanatics Fest as a loss leader is totally fine for them. And now, finally, let's play some clips about how they acquired the league licenses. And this is some stuff that I find really, really interesting from Michael Rubin.
Yeah. So in the collectibles vertical, you saw an opportunity as well.
We did. That one was very different because we saw a business that had grown because of COVID, and quite frankly, a very tired industry. You had three companies, Panini, Topps, Upper Deck, that were, all I'd say, living off of the COVID bump. They weren't innovating the product. They weren't marketing the products. They weren't worrying about the collector. They weren't thinking about how to really grow the business. And so I'd say of all the things I've done in my business career, that's been so far the one that's been easiest to make a major impact overnight because of how I think, if I'm just being blunt, how bad the competition was.
And
That is quite the indictment against Upper Deck, Panini, and the old Topps management when he says this was the easiest thing he's done in his entire business career. He's basically saying this was basic business management that was being ignored for decades by these companies in the hobby. And I mean, I don't know what else to add other than what he said, right? This is just bad competition. Now let's see how Rubin won over the leagues and players associations at the height of the COVID card boom. And I think I play here. Yeah, here's the clip here.
a ton of cards that are 20% of the value that I spent at that time. And people thought that that was a moment in time and that the industry would fade, where it was quite the opposite.
It's what everybody thought. And to be honest, had we not entered it, I think that's what would have happened.
Really?
Okay, absolutely. I'll tell you, when we called, so I came up with the idea in November of 2020. And within hours of coming up with the idea, I was calling the different leaders in sports to say, hey, I've got this big idea. You've got this business, collectibles, trading cards. It's grown a ton because of the pandemic. There's no marketing. There's not been much product innovation. We hear all kinds of noise about how bad the collector experience is. By the way, there's a lot of inefficiencies in how the cards are distributed, selling through distributors versus serving the hobby shops and breakers and retailers directly. We think we could build a much better business. And I kind of said, like the first day I come up with the idea, hey, I'll guarantee you what you're making today. And I'm going to cut you in on all these ancillary businesses that you're not in. It was like I had them at hello, because all they were thinking was the business was going to revert, which is what I think would have happened. And they saw all the flaws in the business that I pointed out to them. And so when you took one of the most trusted partners of the entire league, or the players associations, and they come and say, look, we're going to guarantee you off this high watermark, we're going to cut you into the secondary market, into the live commerce platform, into all these other businesses we can create. We're going to give you a higher road, and we're going to guarantee you with these, what you think is the high watermark. They were like, let's go. How can we get this done as quickly as possible?
They never monetize off of those ancillary parts of the business?
No, not.
So there you go. There you have it. I don't have much to add. That really speaks for itself. And now let's talk about the pending death of card distributors. Here we go.
So the way it used to work, and it made zero sense before we entered the business. The players and the sports leagues gave the rights to like a Panini, an Upper Deck, a Topps, and they mostly sold the cards to distributors. They didn't service hobby shops or retailers or breakers directly. And so what happened was, because the business was growing so much because of COVID, you had these distributors that were making an absolute fortune at the expense of the consumer and the hobby shops and the breakers. And so we came and said, well, why don't we just, like any good brand, you would never, an LVMH, a Nike, an Adidas, you just take any brand you have respect for, they would never sell through a distributor. So why don't we just service these hobby shops and breakers and retailers directly, they'll make more money. They'll be able to keep prices lower to consumers. And so it was a really easy thing for us to do. And it's funny, we just had our Tops annual conference a few weeks ago. And one person raised their hand and they stood up. They said, "I just want to thank you because now I can count on getting merchandise from you directly. I'm not paying these inflated prices."
I can't get over the fact that Michael Rubin says the word easy and easiest and really easy over and over again, which really speaks to how stagnant the hobby was. But based off of this part about distributors, it was a good run, but the distributors are dead in the water as far as I'm concerned. I think it's a good thing nobody bought any of the distributors in the last few years at the height of the COVID bubble, because that would have been a really, really bad idea. Oh, wait a second. Oh, no. And finally, let's end this off with how the leagues and players associations thought that Rubin and Fanatics were the suckers for wanting to take over the card business. I'm pretty sure that nobody thinks that's the case now.
Easy process, because the leagues were like, you walked into a league who was making, they had a guarantee for $10 million a year, like, hey, I'll guarantee you $40 million a year. And so I'll guarantee you this, what you're currently making. They think the business is going to go backwards. Then you have all these great ideas. They're like, what the league said to us is, how long can we make the deal? Yeah. And, thank God Fanatics is standing behind this. Wait, Fanatics, who we know and love and have a giant partnership with, is going to give us a giant guarantee for a long period of time? They thought we were suckers.
Yeah, and you would make them money in license.
So there you have it. That's the end of the recap of this Michael Rubin interview. Thanks to Ryan from Genrid for affording me this interview. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Thank you, as always, for listening and watching. I'll talk to you all soon. Cheers.